Hey, Muffin here. Welcome back to channel. I thought of something a subscriber had suggested, tips and tricks on budgeting, but it made me think of what could actually help you guys in terms of maximizing your credit efficiency, of making credits within the game, is to go over the best and worst credit makers from tier 5 to tier 10. Now, these also kind of depend on your use of how many premium shells or gold rounds, so to say, that you use. Obviously, the more that you use of that ammunition or consumables, so forth, could throw this off. But basically how this works, I'm going off of Blitzstar's data, and I'm going off of two things. One, the tank that has the best and worst credit coefficient, meaning if it has a higher percentage, you have a much greater coefficient that tank does for making credits. And then the lower percentage is obviously worse. And then also going off of the best and worst cost repair factor. So after your tank has taken damage or so forth, or blown up through a game, how much that actually costs. So the lower the repair factor is better, the higher the number is worse. So just to give you guys some context, so starting off here at tier 5, the best credit maker, and I'll go over this for those that are that have premium tanks. Obviously those are going to be the best, but I tried to also put together those for free to play. So the best credit earners also in the tech tree, and then obviously just going over the worst in general. So starting off tier 5, once again, the best credit makers of tier 5 is the number 1, the type 3 Chi Nu at 226% credit coefficient at a repair factor of 3.5. I will say that is insane. That is actually probably the highest percentage of any, after looking over the data, the highest credit coefficient of any tank from tier 5 and 10 when I was doing this research is that tank. Also used to be known as the Samurai. Also noteworthy is the Angry Connor with a 230% credit coefficient with a repair factor of 7. So the type 3 is better. Now, if you're a free to play player, it might be the T67, which has a credit coefficient of 115 and a repair factor of 5.8. But the worst credit makers at tier 5 is the AT2, the M10 Wolverine, and the SU85 with a credit coefficient of 65% and a repair factor of 5.8. So if you're trying to look to make credits, those are the types of tanks you want to either play or probably stay away from. Moving into tier 6, the best credit earners for tier 6 that I believe for premium tanks is the Type 64 at 145% credit coefficient and a repair factor of only 1, which is actually incredible. With also a noteworthy mention of the T3485 Victory at 182% credit coefficient and a repair factor of 6. The worst ones at tier 6 that you want to stay away from if you're trying to earn credits that I found, it looks like it's the T150 with an 88% credit coefficient and a repair factor of 4.9. So once again, the worst are those that you can most likely lose the most credits with. And then also the Kuro Murray Mine at a 94% credit coefficient and a repair factor of 6.55. So that's tier 6. Going into tier 7, the best premium tank credit earners that I found is, I believe, the Type 64 at 164% credit coefficient, repair factor of 4.5. Also the SU12244 at a 169% credit coefficient at 6.2 repair factor. And if you're a free-to-play player, the Ones that could be best is the KV3 at a 112% credit coefficient at 5.16 repair factor, or the AT7 at 117 credit coefficient percent with a 6.2 repair factor. Now, the worst credit earners that I believe is the SU100M1 at a 86% credit coefficient and a 6.2, I believe, repair factor. So that's tier 7. Now, going into tier 8, the best credit earners for premium tanks is the Lowe at an 185% credit coefficient, repair factor at 4.17, and the Super Pershing at 190% credit coefficient at a repair factor of 5.7. For free-to-play players, the best credit coefficient for those tanks may be the Conqueror at 107% credit coefficient, 5.3 repair factor. So that one may be the best one for you there. Or the Centurion, which also has 107% credit coefficient, 5.6 repair factor. Now, the worst ones for making credits, I believe, is the Ho Type 1 at a 93% credit coefficient, 8 on the repair factor. The RHM at an 85% credit coefficient, 6.5 repair factor, and the T49 at an 80% credit coefficient and 6.5 repair factor. So I think the worst is the T49. So some tanks to either watch out for there. Going into tier 9, the best credit earners is the AMX 30 or prototype or prot at 141% credit coefficient, 4.9 repair factor. Also the T55A at 135% and a 5 on the repair factor. The Kempf Panzer 70 at 140%, 6.2 repair factor. K91, a 140% and a 6.2 repair factor. If you're a free-to-play player, very well could be the WZ 120 at a 90% credit coefficient and 5.5 repair factor, or the T54. 89% credit coefficient and only 5 on the repair factor. So not great, but I mean, it's better than some of the others. Now, the worst credit earners at tier 9 is the WZ 111 model 1 through 4 at a 78% credit coefficient at a 6.3 repair factor. The WZ 11 GFT at an 85% credit coefficient and a 6.7 repair factor. And the worst is the T30 at a 77% credit coefficient with a 6.8 repair factor. So some tanks to either use or stay away from tier 9. Now, going in lastly at tier 10, the premium tanks that are the best credit coefficient earners is the 121B at 140%, 5.5 repair factor. The WZ 111-5A at 140%, 5.7 repair factor. Obviously, the VKP 140% credit coefficient, Super Conqueror 140% credit coefficient. Chieftain 140% as well, but I believe the best is actually the T95E6 at 150% credit coefficient with a 5.7 repair factor. Now, if you're a free-to-play player, I don't know. I was actually very surprised at this one, but this one was the one I believe with the highest credit coefficient percentage and the lowest repair costs, which was the mouse, according to Blitz stars, at an 89% credit coefficient and repair factor of 5.2. But I think you do need to use a lot of premium ammo to penetrate, but Anyway, that was the best one I was able to find on those stats. The worst credit earners of tier 10 that will drain your credits fast is the FV215B 183 or the Death Star at a 77% credit coefficient and 8.1 repair factor. Or the T22 medium at an 81% credit coefficient and 6.7 repair factor. The Sheridan's also pretty bad at a 75% credit coefficient and 5.7 on the repair factor, or the AMX Foch at an 80% credit coefficient, or a 7 and the 7.5 on the repair cost. So anyway, hope this list was helpful. This list actually took quite a bit of time to try to compile and put together, really look through. I know it just sounded like a bunch of data, but was really trying to look through and help you guys in terms of making decisions when you're trying to make the most of credits, which tanks actually have the potential to do so and which ones don't. This is the Muffin here. Stay cool and keep tanking.